site. Each lorry driving in here is checked by hand and then by machine to make sure no guns or explosives are smuggled through. And there's tighter security at Sochi Airport too, for everyone entering the building.
No system of security is worldwide known provide 100% protection of attacks. This has been proved in Israel, that has been proved in the United States and Europe. The goal is to decrease this level to the appropriate level.
Hosting the Winter Games means a lot to Russia. The challenge now is to prevent conflict in the Caucasus from spreading to the Olympic slopes. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Sochi.
Stay tuned for the 1 o'clock news with Sophie coming up shortly, but before that, time for a check on the weather with Laura Tobin.
Hello there. Cloud is the name of the game in our forecast as we head through the next few days. Overcast skies have been with us for days now, and today is no exception. Very limited amounts of brightness around at the moment. The latest satellite picture picks up a few breaks across the far north and east of Scotland for some eastern areas of England, but for everyone else, we stick with these very cloudy skies. And with the cloudy skies comes some pretty damp, drizzly weather, particularly as the winds are southwesterly for the most part. So for western coasts and hills, we're most likely to see our thickest cloud and then, therefore, our damp, drizzly weather. For the northeast of Scotland, the promise of some brightness, but temperatures of only 5 degrees in Aberdeen shows that we still have this legacy of cold air lingering in the east. A very chilly 4 degrees this afternoon in Ipswich, and without the sunshine, it won't feel very pleasant, I'm afraid. 7 degrees are high in London. It gets a little bit milder as we work our way westwards, around about 9, maybe 10 degrees there in Barnstaple. But wherever you are across southern England, for western areas and across Wales, again it remains very cloudy throughout the afternoon. Glimmers of a few breaks, a bit of brightness for here and there, but for many of us we stick with our overcast skies and our damp, drizzly conditions as well. Now as we head through our night, the night we cast our eyes to the west, a band of rain approaches on this weather front. Now this is a warm front, and as it moves its way eastwards, it brings some milder air behind it. Still pretty chilly in the east, 3s and 4s down this eastern coast, but further west our overnight lows 6 to 8 degrees. So we still have this battleground at the moment. The cold air sits in the east, but slowly milder air will push its way in from the west as we head through the next 24 hours or so. The milder air brings yet again very cloudy skies, but some pretty wet weather around tomorrow. It's rather slow to clear through eastern areas of England, and then another pulse of rain follows hot on its heels. Northern Ireland brightens up nicely tomorrow, but you'll notice the temperatures up to between 10 and 12 degrees. Now by Thursday, our band of rain finally clears away from northern Scotland. A brighter day perhaps in the north, but staying rather cloudy in the south.
At least 65 people have been killed by a powerful earthquake in New Zealand. It struck Christchurch at its busiest time in the middle of the day, trapping many people under the rubble. The quake, with a magnitude of 6.3, is the country's worst natural disaster for 80 years.
It's just huge. It is huge. And, you know, the buildings are buildings. The really important thing are the people. And we just don't know if there are people under this rubble. I fear there are.
Hundreds of people have been injured. Up to 200 could be trapped beneath collapsed buildings.
New Zealand may be staring down what is its darkest day as we take stock of a city that's been utterly wrecked by a massive earthquake.
Colonel Gaddafi appears on television to deny that he's fled Libya. David Cameron again condemns the crackdown in Libya as he speaks of history sweeping through the Middle East and North Africa. And the Olympic champion Sir Chris Hoy gives a thumbs up to London's finished 2012 velodrome.
And coming up in sport, England certainly don't have it all their own way as they face a defiant Netherlands team in their opening match at the Cricket World Cup.
Make that 3 sixes, tender scarf.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. A powerful earthquake has struck the city of Christchurch in New Zealand, killing at least 65 people. Rescuers have been working through the night to try to find up to 200 people who it's feared are trapped beneath collapsed buildings. Hundreds more have been injured. The country's Prime Minister John Key has called it New Zealand's darkest day. The quake, with a magnitude of 6.3, struck 12 hours ago at lunchtime in Christchurch when the city was at its busiest, with offices and buildings full of people. The Queen has said she is utterly shocked by the destruction. Our correspondent Phil Mercer sent this report from Sydney.
Under this ruined city, scores of people are thought to be trapped in the rubble. The Mayor of Christchurch said while they were fighting for their lives, emergency workers were doing everything they could to reach them, some using just their bare hands. Reinforcements are on the way, with search and rescue teams heading from Australia and the United States. The New Zealand military has been deployed as well. It is a desperate race to find those who are missing. Trapped office workers have been using their mobile phones to call for help.
The ceiling collapsed on top of the desk, so I'm sort of squashed underneath, and I haven't been able to move, really. I keep thinking, is it going to just fall right on top of me? It's really hard. I'm hoping they'll get me out soon.
Others have been rescued after an ordinary day at work suddenly became a fight for survival. Stranded on the upper floors of a building, this man was eventually lowered to safety.
There's a bit of a drama knocking out the window and then abseiling staff down the side of the building, but the stairwell's completely gone. 17 stories with just both sets of stairs gone. So it's just a great gaping chasm.
The scale of the damage in New Zealand's second largest city has been overwhelming after the tremor struck at lunchtime. The loss of life is expected to be equally catastrophic. The Prime Minister John Key said the community was in absolute agony as it felt the full force of a second major earthquake in 6 months.
I don't think we can go past the fact that we may well be witnessing New Zealand's darkest day. It's an absolute tragedy for this city, for New Zealand, for the people that we care so much about.
The floor's trembling and the rocks are falling down.
Amateur footage shows the moments just after the earthquake had pounded the seaside district of Sumner. These are unstoppable and unpredictable forces of nature. Within seconds, the air is choked with dust. The centre of Christchurch has been sealed off. Landmarks, including the grand old cathedral, bear the brutal scars of a magnitude 6.3 quake that shook